The main point of today's video is so I can put on these overalls, which I got for Christmas. Oh! I remember when I first put on a lab coat, I walked into a category 2 lab. I had the same sensation that I feel when I'm putting on a pair of overalls, which is just like, I shouldn't be allowed here. I just feel like such a professional. What do they say? Fake it till you make it? Let's go and faff and prat about. So in this clip, you see me prattling about with the lock. I actually managed to snap my key in the lock of the back door. I have literally no idea how it happened because I'm not a particularly violent person, and as far as I could see, the key wasn't like, you know, about to go. But anyway, it happened, and I spent up to this point a good like 3 hours of my life trying to get the tiny last shard fragment of key out of this goddamn lock, and everything I've tried up to this point has not worked. Here you can actually see me getting so desperate I tried super glue, which I wouldn't advise. It didn't work anyway, and now I've probably just filled my lock with super glue. I'm kind of including this because this is a really interesting example of the kind of interactions I end up having with the like people around the lorry. So I don't know if you just clocked the guy that walked by, but he came back and he offered to help me. Funnily enough, he was like, "Oh, I watch YouTube videos of locksmiths," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" But anyway, we got on and he did try and help me, bless him. We didn't get very far, but he did make the excellent point that my handles do actually have like a hole that goes through them in such a way that they can be padlocked. So that was kind of a stopgap solution to this issue, which is still ongoing, and I think will probably end in me removing the entire lock. But that is a problem for future Danielle, not present Danielle. The most disturbing thing about this whole clip is the shocking resemblance I bear to my father, and I'm not happy about that, to the point where I'm reconsidering the overalls. I am in here filming in the dark because I have got a huge tarpaulin over the entire lorry. So this is the current state. As you can see, I got a bit frustrated with the leaks. The leaks were driving me a bit insane, and I just had to take a break from trying to sort that out. But at the same time, like, because it was rotting the floor, especially the leak that's coming up from around this corner near the back doors, was like, I would just sit there at night, like at home, just thinking about how it was rotting the floor. And so I just kind of was like, I have to do something until I can actually take the time to like find out where the leak is coming from. I have sealed up every place where I think it could be coming from. I have had 4 different people also come out and give their opinions and try and seal things up. Tony's opinion, the site manager, that sometimes leaks can actually start somewhere completely different, and the place where they work themselves out in leaking can be quite obscure compared to where it actually originated from. That the floor in the back, it was like stressing me out so badly because it was just getting more and more wet and more rotten, to the point where there were like mushrooms growing out of the wood. And I appear to have bought another iPhone with a dodgy battery, so I can't do anything while I'm talking to you because it has to be plugged in to the electrics while I'm using it, which is really annoying. So here we are doing nothing, just talking to each other, which is not the kind of videos I particularly want to be making. This is like probably my last chance for a while that I'm going to get to make any kind of video because of the current situation, which we won't talk about in amongst the chaos. I've fully insulated the box apart from just the very back corner. That corner I've left because of the leak, and this one is being left because that's where the door's going. Oh, this is so frustrating. So as you can see, I've put up a lot of the cladding around the windows and on the other side as well, all around the windows. This is the cladding that I'm oiling at the moment, and there's more down there that needs to be done. So that's all gone into that corner, and so I've insulated the whole box, and I've started and I've insulated the ceiling, and as you can see in just like this upper corner, I've started to clad it. But again, that's a really difficult job to do on your own, because you're trying to like slot the cladding in and then put the screws in and hold everything together like at the same time, and it's just really, really challenging. And it is doable, but it's just like really slow going, so it's a drag. So I failed to mention in the previous clip that I have also battened the luton in its entirety, and I've put thermowrap on over the polystyrene, which I've slotted in between the sort of metal girders and the battens which are running across. I'm kind of gutted that I didn't film this and I didn't show you what it was like before. I might try and drag up a picture from somewhere at some point to kind of let you know. I still haven't insulated the very front wall of the luton, because before I do that, I very much need to pop the luton open again and just double check where all the joins like move against each other, because when it comes to putting the cladding on, I seriously cannot have... I cannot be bolting and screwing things that are going to have to move when the cab has to tilt. So I would actually at this point say that like the biggest issues with me progressing forward are the luton area, because it takes at least 3 strong men to pop that thing open and lift up the floor of the luton, which is what I need to happen before I can go ahead and make my plans to insulate everything properly. And then obviously the back floor where the leak is, I'm going to have to build a secondary floor to accommodate the door, because I can't put the door in before the floor is built, because there'll be nothing to support it. So those are kind of like my 2 biggest stumbling blocks right now. But as you can see from these time lapses, cladding the ceiling is something that I had heard was like not a very fun job, but I actually really underestimated how bad it was. I think it doesn't help that like my upper body strength is really pathetic, but just trying to put them in by myself and slide them in and make sure they don't fall out, and then having the like muscle power to put the screws in. I know it doesn't sound like it should be that difficult, but for some reason I'm really, really struggling with this part. And I'm really grateful that my friend lent me a hammer drill to do this, because I did try with the regular drill I have and they just weren't going in at all. But even with the hammer drill, it's like still a bit of a struggle. So thank God for friends, because I'd be lost without them, to be quite honest with you. I did just quickly want to mention, and I've run out of footage to make it pretty, so sorry you've got to look at this weird picture for a while, is that I've staggered, as you can see in the previous time lapse, I've staggered a bit like a brickwork, the cladding. So like one is longer and the other is shorter, and then another is longer and the other is shorter. And I've done that because in the luton there's only one batten, so I can't put the screws in too close to the edge of the cladding, because the cladding is so thin that it will just split. I learned that the hard way. So I'm kind of going in the format of I'm going to screw one and not the other, and then the next time the opposite one would be screwed and not the other. I'll try and explain that in a future video, because I feel like that's not a great explanation. The only other thing that I wanted to say, because I've had a few questions about it actually, is that I went ahead and I insulated the roof in the same way that I'd done the walls. So the roof has a layer of thermowrap on the very outside, and that's touching the fiberglass roof. And then there is the sheep's wool, and then there is a layer of bubble wrap, which is what holds the sheep wool in. And then over the top of all of that is the vapor barrier, and then the cladding is being put directly onto the vapor barrier. So those are kind of like the layers that are underneath that green sheet. Okay guys, I guess this is like the end of the video. It's been a pretty long day, and I'm about to die of exhaustion, but I did just quickly want to explain that I'm probably not going to be as active. I know it sounds like a bit of a joke because I'm not great on social media anyway, but I am trying to graduate, and I had to defer everything last year because of COVID, because I was at home with my kid. This is literally like the last chance that I have to get my degree. So that is going to mean that I'm probably going to be a bit less active for a while, which kind of sucks. I'm hoping that most of my exams will be over in June. Then I'll be able to like fully focus on getting the lorry finished and getting it running. Yeah, that's kind of why I put the tarpaulin on as well, because I knew that I wasn't gonna get a chance to, I was worried about not getting a chance to like sort the leak before I have to like have this time where I can leave it. I'm not saying like I'm not going to go back until June, it's just that, you know, it's not going to be like a regular thing.